Hello, I am Joanne Roll. I'm the Dean of the School of Business at Medgar Evers College, City University of New York. Originally, I did a presentation and I was about to send it to you, and I went way over time. I just have so much to say and so little time to say it in, but I do respect time. And so that presentation you will not be getting. I was going to share some slides with you that I have done with Kenyatta University, the United Nations Development Program, and my alma mater, Howard University in Washington, D.C. And I've been talking about your theme, which, I have adopted, is striving towards a better normal, not going back to the pre-pandemic normal that we had before. And so what I thought I would do, rather than show you slides, is talk about the new work that I'm doing in the book. And the forthcoming book is Cases on Applying Knowledge Economy Principles for Economic Growth in Developing Nations. That's the book. My particular chapter is called Visions of a More Sustainable Future of Work for the Underserved. And so in this topic, I talk about the work we have done in the past, but the added dimension here is the dimension of sustainability from more than just the economic stability. And so what I thought I would do is share with you with this 10 minutes worth of time, and I could talk for a lot longer than 10 minutes, is just a little bit on the abstract and the introduction, and that gets me almost my 10 minutes worth of time. But I think you would get a gist for what I'm trying to do. I wish I had more time, but next time, hopefully we'll be with you next year. And so in the abstract, I start by saying for generations, humanity has experienced socioeconomic disparities that are yet unresolved. Although education and training have transformed some individuals in society, they have not addressed the broader issues of sustainable employment for many underserved communities. Governments, corporations, policymakers, and numerous stakeholders have continued to address the problem, yielding disappointing results. Growing inequality in society continues to be a major concern. Vertical inequalities between the poor and the rich, and horizontal inequalities between various groups of society have remained high for centuries. So this is not a new problem, but one that we haven't resolved. This chapter focuses on a variety of individual elements that outline the current challenges to humanity and an unequal society that certain communities continue to face, citing many of the efforts that we have done in terms of an unsustainable environment. Inequality and degradation negatively impacts the future of work. Efforts continue to advance the future of work as a progressive, stable, and welcoming environment without the need for underserved communities to be classified as a certain class of minority. And so this work, as you know, we have been doing since 2016, when our first conference was on social entrepreneurship, and our second conference followed in corporate social responsibility. We believe everyone has a role, both in the smaller ventures and the larger ventures. So the introductory starts, as many areas shape the future of work. Recently, the focus has been on the impacts of the adoption of technologies and augmentation of work tasks. However, that's not all. The future of work is also defined by 5 significant dimensions defined by the International Labor Office. These dimensions are job creation, job quality, social protection, wage and income inequalities, which most of our work has been on, and social dialogue and industrial relations. These are considered integral elements of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. And as I go into the paper, I talk about the trends of sustainable development and how the forecast is it not that great? And we won't get a chance to actually go over the forecast, but I just wanted to highlight it there. In the context of social protection, poverty and the poor have been with us for generations. This is not a new problem. In some cultures, there is no escape from class or the class system. In some cultures, race establishes a pseudo class system by the historical and socioeconomic conditions that surround work and or the lack thereof. That is what we face in the United States. It is no surprise that racism and poverty continue to plague the economy, especially for the majority who are poor. The greatest share of the world's wealth has long been in the hands of a few men. None of this is new or surprising. What was surprising to us when we looked at the global data was that the middle class is shrinking due not to gains of the bottom class, but to more gains of the upper income class. The income growth continues to be tilted to the upper income class. Hence, a greater share of aggregate income to the upper income class indicates the share going to the middle to lower class is falling and continues to fall. And this is real data. The poor are getting poorer and there's more of them. The share for the middle income household decreased from 61% in 1971 to 51% in 2019. The increase is because middle and income families are more dependent on home equity as a source of wealth, whereas upper income families have personal assets and business equity that provides a larger share of their wealth. And that comes from the Pew Research Center in 2020. How then do we channel more of the lower and middle income class workers into jobs and or entrepreneurial ventures that are more equitable and sustainable? How do we begin to take the gains from technology and use them as a force for equity? And I would add for a force of good. How do we transform informal economies into formal economies? Where do we start? There are many ideologies, abstract thoughts, and political strategies that have been executed in the past. Yet for many demographics, such as Blacks in the US, the income and subsequent wealth gap is greater now than it was before. So everything we have done in the past just has not worked. So if we continue to do the same failing solutions, we will continue to get the same failing results. At least that's what I say. In our recent book, A Handbook of the Future of Work and Entrepreneurship for the Underserved, we posit different observations in different regions. And a compelling one is in the beginning of chapter 1, Social Innovation Strategies to Transform Slums into Successful Neighborhoods in Latin America. And why I like this solution so much is the researchers weren't armchair researchers. They didn't sit back in their desks and try to figure out a solution for slums and neighborhoods that they had never been in. They went into the homes of, and I'll just say it, the drug lords, and they talked to the women, they talked to the children, and they found out what were some of the real needs and what were some of the real solutions that could evolve from the community and to develop a bottom-up solution as opposed to the normal top-down. You have policymakers making policy for people and areas that they've never been in. They've never felt the pain of a husband that can't take care of his family, or of a mother who's lost her husband and is trying to survive with her children. So once you take in and empathize with what happens, what really happens in these communities, then together you could have a shared vision to come and shape a real shared future. So the focus of this study was to use these cited papers to examine the work presented, along with the use of other secondary sources to determine sustainable socioeconomic and income gains for the underserved. Hence, the focus of this chapter was a brief examination of the work in general, and specifically the work of the one that I truly like, which is Mario's work, which was the first chapter that I mentioned to you. We hope that the review of this work will yield prospects for possible replication globally, as such produce sustainable socioeconomic and income gains for the underserved, and I hope a better normal. So the objectives of the chapter in the book is to raise awareness of challenges of inclusiveness in the future of work, to frame the impact of the technology transformation on the underserved, and to build the ecosystem for an inclusive future for the underserved in the knowledge economy, for what we strive for, that we is a big we. It's not just the we in the US, it's not just the we in Pakistan or India, but it is the we globally as humanity strive to have a better humanity tomorrow than we had yesterday with our previous normal and the inequality that we have. And now I see I'm running off the clock. And so with that, I say my 10 minutes is done and I am going to stop. Thank you very